Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 19 of Season 2 of Riverdale, Prisoners. And this is another very good episode of the series. Really, really strong episode, this one. And there's just a lot of good stuff going on here, so let's kind of get right into it. So yeah, everybody figures out that yeah, no fooling, the Black Hood is back. Well, okay, after what happened to Ethel last episode, that's not such a surprise. Speaking of not such a surprise, yes, it's I like wait, Midge was killed last episode. It was Ethel who sent the threatening notes about Cheryl. And she quickly confesses that that was her just trying to get rid of Cheryl because she thought she deserved the part, which we more or less figured out last week. I mean, it was a pretty easy one. I do like that Sheriff Keller is getting a little bit of character development here, and by extension, from him, Kevin. Of course, Kevin is none too pleased at Cheryl throwing his dad under the bus. But then again, to be fair to Cheryl, she's got pretty good reasons to be pissed off at Sheriff Keller. A lot of bad stuff has happened to her on his watch, and the sheriff has done a really crummy job of doing anything about it. I mean, her brother got killed, her dad turned out to be a drug dealer, her mom packed her off to a reprogramming camp, and tried to murder her grandmother. Yeah, things definitely could have gone better with Sheriff Keller at the helm. So, yeah, not really a surprise that Cheryl is not a big fan of his. It just sort of seems like, okay, does she really kind of have to rub this in Kevin's face? I mean, they're not exactly best buds, but Kevin really, I mean, she has no reason to be upset at Kevin. Then again, Cheryl's also kind of a petty enough person that if she can find some way of jabbing at Sheriff Keller via his son, she's certainly not above taking it. Um, Now, one thing what's going on with the Coopers this episode. This is one thing that I was a little confused about. So so Alice says like, oh, there was some kid that showed up at the door and said he was my son, and I sent him away. Okay, that means she did legitimately lay eyes on her biological son. A big surprise. FP's the dad. Well, we all kind of figured that out too. And yet, when she runs into Chick, she thinks it's him. Like, wait a minute. How old was he when this happened? I mean, did she not look through the door? I mean, did I not hear a line or something? Did I miss something? Um, I mean, the only way I can think is like if he was standing on the other side of the door, she sent him away, but she did not actually open the door and lay eyes on him. But even then, she would have heard his voice. So, yeah. And of course, Chick turns out not to be who he said he was, which, okay, that's kind of interesting. Him having turned out to have been an imposter, well, again, this is something that was heavily hinted at earlier in this season, and then just kind of got pushed to the side due to other situations. Well, okay. Wait a minute. What happened there with the DNA? You know what? I'm just going to let that go. Um, anyway, and of course, then ultimately Hal gets clued in on what happened with Chick killing some dude and Betty and Alice covering it all up. And I really did like that scene with Chick there in the basement, where at first he kind of tries playing on Alice, the old way that's worked so far. Like, but he really does overplay his hand there a little bit, where he goes, "Mom, I'm scared." And as soon as he said that, I'm like, okay, there's no way they're buying that. That's way, way, way overplaying it. And yeah, the Coopers are like, okay, we're not buying it, give it up. And eventually it's just sort of like, yeah, okay, fine. And the real thing here is that he's kind of sitting there just going like, well, what are you guys going to do about it? I know you don't have the stones to kill me. And to be fair, under general circumstances, that would be the correct assumption. And I do have to say, as dark as it is, I appreciate Betty's solution to the problem. Is basically turn Chick over to the Black Hood. And this is one of those situations where it's kind of hard to say that Chick doesn't have this coming. I mean, Miss Grundy was well, or whatever the hell her real name was a sexual predator. Chick has killed someone, and possibly, not for the first time when he killed that guy in the Cooper's kitchen. Uh, he's been a very manipulative guy. Chick is not a good person. And, as dark as what's happening here is, it's kind of hard to think that the world is not going to be a better place without him. And, well, we'll see whether or not he pops up again. I mean, he did more or less have 50-50 odds of getting away from the Black Hood, but we'll see. That said, though, they do kind of hint at the end of this episode that the Black Hood might be Hal, which is certainly a very intriguing idea, but it just feels a little weird. I mean, Archie's looked into Hal's eyes a lot of times because, he's known Hal all his life. They're neighbors. So it just seems a little weird that anytime Archie would be around him, that this wouldn't really click. But then again, Hal hasn't really been around. I don't know if I quite buy this, but remember, the Black Hood did say that if Betty saw him without his mask, she would recognize him. And the Black Hood is supposed to be an older guy. Hal fits. And the Black Hood somehow knew about that weird Nancy Drew thing that Betty had as a kid. Well, now there, her father, it would be pretty reasonable that her father would know something about that. And it certainly would be interesting. I mean, having a parent who turned out to be a major bad guy, wow. Put Betty in another thing with Cheryl and Veronica. Interesting. I also really liked FP this episode, where he basically said to Jughead, it's like, look, this is for the Coopers to decide how we're going to deal with Chick, and we'll help them afterwards. Which, I mean, really, I think speaks for what kind of a guy FP is. He might be somebody who's willing to do some pretty nasty stuff if he feels it's necessary, but he will stand by people who have earned his, he considers one of his family, the people that someone he cares about. He will stand by those people like that to the ends of the earth, and do whatever is necessary to protect them. I mean, it can definitely lead a person to some dark places, but that sort of resolve of purpose is in a lot of ways admirable. Then there's the whole subplot this episode with Veronica and Archie and Nick St. Clair. Well, yeah, not really surprised that what has gone on with Nick St. Clair came back to bite some people in the butt. I also like that Nick St. Clair apparently employs impeccably groomed guys who look like they could be models as his thuggish henchmen. I mean, did you take a closer look at these guys? I mean, these guys really spent some time on their hair. I just find that intensely amusing. And of course, we see Nick be an utter sleazebag, and no surprise that Veronica is able to turn the tables on him without too much trouble. And the conversation there at the end was very interesting. I mean, I assume that she explained that Hiram was totally willing to let Archie rot to Archie. And yet, when Hiram goes in there to have what he was definitely expecting to be an extremely unpleasant conversation with someone he has literally made a blood oath with, and then immediately discarded that oath when it was convenient for him, and yet was willing to pressure Archie with the power of that blood oath when it was convenient for him. And Archie's just like, I totally want to kill the Black Hood to prove to you that, I've got the chops. And Hiram's like, yeah, that's a great idea. I'll totally help you with that. Which, Jughead puts it right. I mean, that's just handing Hiram the keys to Archie's, self-imposed prison. I mean, he's just handing Hiram the keys to just being even more in the driver's seat of controlling him. And yeah, that's not good. It really says a lot that, Archie, who has gone out of his way to, stick up for Hiram, to help him out, even clashing with his own father, and yet, when push comes to shove, Hiram is totally willing to throw Archie under the bus. And even but yet, Archie remains loyal. And it's really just a testament to just Hiram's own ego that he he really can't accept Archie, no matter everything, after everything that Archie has done, after his the own promises that Hiram has made, which just kind of feeds into what we've seen from Hiram before, that while he might love his wife, possibly, I mean, again, Veronica has noticed that she's never heard her father tell her mother that he loves her. And Hiram certainly does love Veronica. That is his one truly great redeeming feature. But in a lot of ways, if we think about Veronica and Hermione as extensions of Hiram, which is personally how I think he views them, then Hiram is, at the end of the day, just a monstrously selfish man. When someone has literally bled for you, has sacrificed and fought for you, and yet when when you have to put some skin in the game to stick up for them, that you throw them under the bus. Well, Archie might be totally fine with going along with the situation as is, but I seriously doubt that Veronica is. And she, I don't think, is going to take this lying down. You kind of have to wonder, when is the point where Veronica is going to have to say that, maybe it's better for me, maybe it's better for Archie, maybe it's better for my mother, maybe it's better for Riverdale if my father is not in the picture anymore. And if she can pretty easily take out Nick St. Clair, well, Hiram's certainly not going to be looking to be stabbed in the back by his own daughter, is he? So, yeah, I have a feeling things are going to end spectacularly poorly for Hiram by the end of this season, and that it's not going to be pretty. Not at all. In fact, I have a feeling that by the end of these next few episodes, it's going to be a gorgeous mess. And yeah. So, guys, I'm going to call it here. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Tumblr at Jedi Reviewer and on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.